Welcome to the Dev Different podcast. My name is Devon Seacrest.
I'm Hunter Dorhout.
We are coming to you from an extended hiatus to talk about vibe coding today. So we've got Hunter here as a guest. Hunter is my fellow co-founder at CodeBuddy, and we've been talking a lot about vibe coding. There's been a lot of mention about vibe coding. There's some very powerful things that are going on in the AI development space. And so wanted to take a second to break down some of what is going on. First question always, Hunter, is like basically, what is vibe coding? And why has it captured so many people's attention lately?
Yeah, so it's kind of a difficult question to answer, but vibe coding started, I believe, as just a tweet by Andre Karpathy, who I think he's a co-founder of OpenAI. He was with Tesla for a while, and he just kind of tweeted like, I've been doing this thing called vibe coding, where basically, he explained, and this is basically what people define it as, like, I've been coding, but basically just by telling the AI what I want and pretending that the code doesn't exist. Letting the AI write whatever code it wants, and then, if it looks different than what I want, I just tell it, change this, make this padding different. But essentially coding on nothing but vibes, right, with the AI. So building software, without building software, I guess.
Without looking at the code.
Without looking at the code. But I think he specifically said, like, pretending that the code doesn't exist.
Correct. So the code could be perfect code that's better than any code that a human has ever written, or it could be completely garbage.
Correct. Could be a pile of spaghetti-coated pasta. And then I think the second part of why has it captured so much attention is a really interesting topic, because I think there's a lot of tools out there that whoever it is that said like any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Yep.
Right. There's a lot of vibe coding platforms out there that you can use them. You write one prompt to say I want to build an app for to manage my tow truck drivers, make sure that they get to the right place and get the right paperwork. And these tools will go and just off of that, go and build an app, and it'll have a front end, and it captures the attention because somebody with absolutely no technical capability or experience can truly just they can have something that looks and feels like an app and operates like an app, and they can click around and do stuff, which is magic to a lot of people.
Yeah. So way back in the day, code was, ones and zeros.
Mm-hmm.
That's, how coding really started. And then it got abstracted to, probably some scripts and some weird language.
Punch cards way back.
Punch
right?
cards, yeah. And then it got, So is this just another evolution in coding, or is this something different than what's ever been, seen or done before?
Yeah. I mean, I think the difference between this and the evolutions that we've seen before, from punch cards to assembly to compiled code to object-oriented programming, I think the main difference here is like an abstraction or another layer on. As we added those layers, we didn't really lose anything,
mm-hmm.
right? Like, yeah, you could argue like garbage collection or some like low-level routines, like people lost the ability to control garbage collection when you went to object-oriented programming. But by and large, like all those other abstractions you could still look at what you were interacting with on your screen and see a full, complete, authoritative, definition or your code base, right? Whereas vibe coding, you can't, right? You give the prompt to it. It is responding back, maybe with some questions, maybe not, but the identity of the app that is being built is kind of behind this black box, inside this black box, or behind a mirror, whatever you want to call it, and you can't see what's going on, and you can't see all the details. So I personally would argue that pure vibe coding is something extremely different than just the next iteration of code abstractions, as a lot of people define it, at least.
Yeah, it's no longer deterministic.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
what
totally.
I mean by deterministic is, you've heard the phrase, there's a million ways you can skin a cat.
Mm-hmm.
In previously coding languages, you knew what you were doing. And even though it was maybe abstracted from ones and zeros, you knew that what you were going to do would follow down the chain to
Correct.
an exact path. Nowadays, you give it a description, and it could be skinning the cat, a million different ways.
Yeah,
You never know.
I mean, put a different way, right? You can go to the same platform multiple times, put in the same prompt, and get out different apps each time, right? So that's where it's
Right.
like, it's not deterministic. It's not just another abstraction of code. It really is like a moment in time interacting with a machine that feels like a person, but it's not. It's like some math and mixtures and preloaded stuff, and you might get out something. It'll be similar, right? But it won't be the same every time.
And there's some good things with it, right?
Totally.
Obviously, there's some, dangers with not knowing how you're skinning this cat, but there's some benefits too. Talk a little bit about what the benefits are.
Yeah,
in
I
this.
mean, but again, and part of the reason that it's captured so many people's attention, part of the benefit, part of the reason it's so alluring is like as human beings, over 50% of our brain is dedicated to processing and understanding visual information, right? And a lot of people, people who are not software professionals, that is basically the only kind of tool or surface that they have to even understand and conceptualize software, right? So before AI and vibe coding and all of these kind of generative tools, people could have a picture in their mind of something that they maybe wanted to build, but it's exceptionally difficult to just, verbally explain what that is sometimes. And so, I think there's really awesome use cases in terms of like rapid prototyping or just like getting something out of your head and onto a screen so that maybe you can like start to iterate on it and figure out what you don't like, what you do. But
when it has the ability to go and find, really good quality code examples that it can use, possibly better than we would have known unless we had studied those examples too, right? So
Yeah.
it does elevate the level of engineers that are already really good engineers, correct?
Absolutely. And I do want to like draw a distinction between vibe coding and AI assisted coding or
Fair point, yeah.
spec-driven coding, because like, I'm totally not, I sound like I'm an AI, for those who don't know, CodeBuddy Studio, our main product, is an AI-driven software builder. Yeah, totally. Their AI in coding is like, it's not going back, and there are many, many, many things inside of software engineering that AI can do at a superhuman level.
So good segue. So tell us the difference between, AI coding, vibe coding, and then spec-driven development, or different types of
Sure.
AI coding.
Yeah, so I mean, AI coding is kind of the umbrella term for it all, but vibe coding, as we've talked about, right? I'm totally just operating on vibes. I'm saying, build me an app to do this. I don't like that. Add this feature. Remove this, right? Spec-driven development, which is not, it's not something that is only new as of AI, right? It's kind of how software was built professionally forever, which is like, before we go and build, we're going to take the time to sit down and, through whatever means of discovery, discovering the requirements and the features that we want to build, we're going to examine different possibilities. We're going to figure out, who is this for? What do they need to do? What are the nuances? What are the error cases? What happens if this goes wrong? All of those things. And you take that discovery phase and you codify it into a spec or a specification. And then, based on that specification, you go and, in a kind of structured and orderly manner, code that piece of software into an app. So, it's a pre-step to kind of draw the blueprints for the software that you want to build.
So as part of this, just like, we talk a lot about instant gratification,
Mm-hmm.
of people they don't want to take the time to, plan things and give business requirements and user stories, and like they just want to like start seeing the results.
Yeah. And honestly, I think this is one of the things that's maybe perhaps the most dangerous about AI. I mean, there's a lot of, I won't get into like the Terminator theories and all that, but like I've even noticed in myself, right, at times a shift in, because this AI is so good, right, at certain things, and primarily it's good at making us feel like it's really good, right?
Yep.
It's good at answering the way that it thinks that we want to be answered. It's good at, your idea is off. That's a great idea, right? Yeah. All the time.
It never tells you no.
Yeah, right. And it creates this kind of like expectation of just like instant consumerism from our AIs, right? Like I catch myself doing it sometimes, where it's like, oh, I will be interacting with an AI and I'll be asking for something, and then, it gives me something back and I'm like upset because it didn't meet some expectation that I had. And then I go back and I look at what I said and I'm like, I never even came close to actually communicating that expectation. But these AI systems have gotten so good that like it's natural as a human to just expect more and more and more and more, to the point where we're expecting things that we didn't even ask for. Right. But yeah, the instant gratification thing is, that's how a lot of the vibe coding platforms are operating, and how they're getting the kind of adoption that they are, and the revenue that they are, is like when you can go, and I've never built an app before, I don't know how to do it. I can type in one prompt and all of a sudden I have something in 10 minutes that feels like an app. It's an insanely powerful dopamine hit of that instant gratification that, most often you have to pay the piper down, a day, a week, a month later. But
so AI coding is not bad, but lazy AI coding is bad.
Totally.
And talk to me about some ways that you can do AI coding without being lazy. And talk to me, I know you're a developer, but talk to me from a more non-technical role. And I only say that because, part of our mission and part of the goal is, how do we make software development more accessible? How do we make it so that non-technical person that you were talking about can get what they need, but do it in a way that isn't, garbage? Yeah,
I mean, the first thing I would say is pick a tool that doesn't push you towards that instant gratification, right? The reality about software is it's nothing but a series of decisions, right? You have to decide how you want your software to behave in all of the situations that it might encounter. And if you're working with a tool that doesn't make you do that, just know those decisions are getting made, right? It's not like you don't have to make those decisions if they don't ask you. They're just getting made by an AI and not according to your specification. So first thing I would say is pick a tool. CodeBuddy Studio is a good one. That
shameless plug.
Yeah, shameless plug. But like, just know that if you're building a piece of software, right, whether it's with a human or with an AI, if you're not answering a bunch of questions, if you're not encountering situations that, like, especially if you're non-technical, right, you might, I don't know, maybe this isn't the best way to phrase this, right, but you might think that all of the things that you want in your software, right? I could go and think that I know all the features that I want in a truck, right? But I'm not an automobile engineer. I guarantee you I don't know all the things that I would need to think about to build a truck. So if you're interacting with a person or an AI and it's not asking you questions that you're like, ooh, I've never thought of that before, that's a smell that, like, hey, this is probably not the best solution, because those things, they need to get defined. I don't know if does that answer your question?
Yeah, so vibe coding is the evil twin. Spec-driven development is the good side of AI coding, because spec-driven development, you're taking time to properly identify the business requirements, the entire picture of the app you're trying to build. And by giving AI that information, AI is less likely to make errors and less likely to make a brittle code that's going to fall apart as you try to scale and grow your 100%. App.
And the other thing, too, is, like, software changes over time, right? And vibe coding is great. Like, let's say, okay, the vibe coding models are going to get better, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to be better and better at not coding in that, like, one edge case that breaks and blows up your whole app. We've all seen, like, the Reddit posts where somebody's like, oh, I built a SaaS with Lovable and I have 2,000 users and now everything's melting down, right?
Yeah.
But the vibe coding things are going to get better. But if you don't know how something is built, then as soon as you encounter something, it might not even be broken, right? It might be something that you want to change, But as soon as you're just saying, I want this built, and you're just, subjugating that to the AI and letting it decide, unless it has like a crazy good, architecture documentation process and all of that jazz, once it's done and that thread goes away, all of those details are gone. And it's kind of just before AI coding, if you had like your one engineer that was like a rock star engineer and then they quit or got hit by a bus, right?
Yeah.
Like we talked about the bus factor, like as soon as that is gone, it's gone, and it's really hard to recover. It's another plug for spec-driven coding, because it's like blueprints for a house, right? You can go back to the pieces that you designed and why you designed them, and then when you go to change it, you might have a much better chance of being able to do that successfully.
So now, again, from a non-technical perspective, where is it important for a human to be still involved? I mean, you've worked with a lot of non-technical people that are building apps.
Mm-hmm.
Are they, where does a human still add value to their process? And what I mean by human, I mean by experienced engineer.
Sure.
Is there still a role for the experienced engineer?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can think about it this way, right? AI tools are going to continuously evolve, right?
Yep.
If you have the best engineer in the world, is that person, you take the best engineer in the world and then you compare them against me, right?
Yeah.
And then we both have an AI oracle that we're using to build our software.
Correct.
Is there ever a world in which the best engineer in the world isn't better at using that tool than I am? Right?
Correct.
Probably not.
Yeah, as long as they also know the business requirements the same, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's just like, like a metal lathe or a CNC or any tool, right? These things are tools, and tools are meant to be used by humans, and humans that are highly skilled are going to be able to use them more effectively, and humans that are less skilled, less effectively. The current state of the art, like where does a engineer add a lot of value? Generally speaking, it's in like kind of the system level architecture type of Zoom. You told me to speak from a non-technical perspective, which I'm not even sure if I'm capable of doing for what it's worth. Let's see. Just deciding overall, like, okay, I have this application that has 10 features, and I want it to send emails, and I want it to send text messages, and I want it to connect to a database. How do all of those pieces get arranged in the code base? How do workflows get structured? Making the decisions of like, well, what SMS provider should I use?
Correct.
Or what kind of cloud should this be built on? Or
what's even possible?
Totally.
I mean, developers probably know things
100%.
that are possible that a non-technical developer wouldn't even know of, and so they try to like stumble around describing it to.
Mm-hmm.
Also, time effort probably too.
Yeah.
I mean, most non-technical people have other things going on in their life, where developers, they're solely like their job is just like sitting at the computer working on this all day.
And
what else?
I think that's, again, to go back to like vibe coding and where that can be. We got some building going on in the background. We appreciate builders of all types.
Correct.
The other thing about vibe coding is it really can convince a human pretty quickly that like, oh, this will take no time.
Yeah.
Right? Because like, oh, I built the first version of something that looks proper in my mind, and it took 10 minutes. That means I must be able to do this without any investment of time, right? Not the case. These tools have made development maybe 10, maybe 20 times faster, but you also got to consider that's on the scale of applications used to take a year to build.
Oh, yeah, 18 months.
Right.
Not like,
So,
a year is hitting your deadline. They never hit their
deadline.
Totally.
And so, like, okay, 10 to 20 times faster than a year.
Correct.
It's still, like, a month.
Full-time activity.
Full-time activity,
Correct.
right, yeah. And again, that's kind of assuming, like, somebody that has, some software engineering skills, like, some savvy. So, that's a decision that you have to make as a non-technical person, and it's one that has been made harder, not easier, because there's different solutions out there that will make you feel as if, oh, maybe I can get away with doing this without having a software engineer at all involved. I can just like build this on myself. You can try, I guess.
Yeah. So there's a lot of focus about, how AI is helping developers and stuff. Talk a little bit more about how AI is helping like businesses, existing businesses, not like the person that's trying to build, the next, super scalable SaaS product, the next social media app, or like an existing real practical business, someone that like has, true, labor component to them. How can AI and help those businesses be better?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different ways. One of them is indirectly, in the sense that AI has made development, in addition to 10 to 20 times faster, way cheaper.
Yeah.
Right. And so we've seen the cost of what would it cost to build my own CRM or my own tool for my business. We've seen that it's gone down.
How
right?
much?
10 to 20 times, a lot.
So like, okay, to phrase it, so like 90% cheaper.
Yeah.
So
right.
like if it cost me, I mean, most apps, building your own app used to cost $250,000 to $500,000.
Yeah.
So we're talking about, $20,000 for a business or something now.
Yep.
Which is now affordable.
Right. So, I mean, that's one way, and it's indirect. It's a result of AI, but it's not, going to an AI and saying, build me this, right? It's still probably engaging some people that know what they're doing. The second way is, directly, I think there's a lot of people get big eyes and bright lights about like having an AI do all these massive workflows. I'm going to have an AI be my salesperson, or I'm going to have an AI, support, right?
Yeah.
And you can try, and maybe you can succeed in some cases, but what we've seen work for a lot of our customers is, very small and targeted applications of AI, right? One that's super popular is just like document parsing.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of businesses still operate with paper forms, and that's cool. I love paper. I take all my notes on paper. So a popular feature that we've done for a lot of businesses is using a very targeted AI to parse documents and take in order forms.
Because there's AI that is like geared at replacing a human by this like automated chatbot that people hate discussing with, and then there's AI that's intended to make humans just purely more efficient, so that they can do more with their jobs.
Yeah,
correct?
and like micro decisions, right?
Yep.
Like, I have an email. I have an email that people email into for support, right? And maybe some of them we can just send them a wiki link to like fix this problem that we know happens all the time. And some of them we actually want to connect them to one of our support people because they might need some more targeted help, right? Used to be that maybe somebody would have to spend 30 minutes a day checking that, and then it would be an 8-hour lag or something on that inbox. But a micro decision, training an AI or teaching an AI to say like, these kind of emails that are coming in, send them this wiki link. These kind of emails, send a Slack message to Jim and have him, So that's just one example of a micro decision. And I mean, those are all over the place in businesses, right? Like just small little decisions that they're not really a high value thing. Like, if that decision is being made at a company that makes, I don't know, vacuum cleaners or something like that, the people in that business, they don't get into that business to answer support emails. They get into that business because they love engineering. They love building vacuum cleaners. Maybe they have a passion for spotless floors. I don't know. But it's not like doing the high value human activity that the people in that business are really good at.
So what's the benefit for those companies to build their own tools versus going out and purchasing some generic tool that, tries to help them with sales or operations or payments or people management? Yeah,
I mean, I think there's kind of like three things I would say. First is the customization, or rather the lack of having to learn some other tool's way of operating, right? Yeah. Like I'll go for something that rhymes with SchmubSpot, right? Yeah. It's CRM that has like pipelines, right? Yeah. And there's leads that go into a pipeline and things like that. And I remember early on in our business, like using that those pipelines and trying to figure out like, well, okay, we have some people that we're contacting because we're raising an investment round.
Yeah.
Right. And then we have some other people that we're talking to and keeping track of leads because they're customers. And so we're like, well, do we put like investors in a pipeline? Like, it's not really sales. I don't know.
And you could only have two. So
and
we
you
had
could only
to,
have two.
Be very careful which ones we picked.
But the point of that being, like, we had to translate what it was that we were trying to do in the context of our business into what HubSpot decided to say, like, this is how a CRM is built. You have pipelines.
Correct.
And so I think the first major one is just the ability to have a piece of software that works in the language and the system and the terms that you do, right?
Yeah.
In that case, we would have had like investor contacts and like a customer lead pipeline. And businesses evolve, right? They should be. So as the business evolves, then you can continue to customize your piece of software, remove stuff that you don't use, add stuff that you do. The second one, I'm trying to remember all three of them.
Yeah.
The second
set us up.
Yeah, the second one is, maybe it was customization, but having control of your own data, I think, is like probably sliding under the radar now. Especially a lot of these SaaS companies that, like, if anything is free, just know it's not. It's not free. Nobody does software for free ever, right? Same thing with any other business. So if something's free, it's being monetized, whether that's, your company data, like, is that being sold to advertisers? Is that being sold to private equity? What have you? So, like, being able to control and, from a security standpoint, own all of your own data, your own processes, I think, it might not be top of mind for a lot of people, but I think it's going to become more and more prevalent. And the third one is just like continuity of business too, right? We've talked to some people that, like, for example, Webflow for a while had an e-commerce part of their business that they were saying, like, hey, you can come to Webflow, you can build your e-commerce business in this. We've got like really good design tools, so on and so forth. You can sell your a friend of mine actually was running a company that they do freeze-dried foods out of Montana, and they had built their whole like e-commerce platform into Webflow. And then Webflow decided, this isn't really worth our time, our money. Like, this is not a sector of business that we want to pursue, and they just quit. Yeah. Right. Quit supporting it. So I don't know. I think the main thing is being able to customize and build a piece of software specifically for your business and continue to get more and more deep. And
it's not just the like first time build. I'm a big fan of like Japanese culture, Kaizen, where
totally
taking, American culture is very like innovation. What are these big changes that we can make to improve our businesses? Japanese culture is much into those, like, what are those 1% changes, or I think of them as like micro tuning, that, take an operation that, maybe only costs you, 8 seconds or 8 minutes or 15 minutes to do, but you're doing it every day. You're doing it repeatedly. And if you're scaling your business, you're going to have 10 more people right behind you that are trying to do that same operations. And if you can just nip those in the butt, where you don't have to think about them, they take less than a microsecond to actually do, you're making changes that you won't notice them until like they're just done for you, and you don't have to think about them. They just get done. It allows you to do volumes of work that you would have never even conceived possible with fewer individuals, with a smaller budget to go. Okay, so we're wrapping up here, but any final thoughts on AI, vibe coding, spec-driven development, things that companies can be doing, things that developers should be watching out for, etc.?
Final thoughts, I don't know. I guess I feel like there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of excitement, there's just a lot of hype in a lot of different directions about software and the direction that it's going as it relates to AI. How I feel different on different days, right? That's the reality of living in this world and running a business, right? I'm not always optimistic, but I think generally speaking, like, mostly I just feel excited because, software, I've always looked at it as like a material for building. It's something that you can use to shape into useful things. And I see, you know, with our customers and with different people, I see software being deployed at smaller and smaller scales for smaller and smaller businesses and people and organizations and individuals and educators and all of that jazz. And I think I'm just excited, I guess, to see where it's going to go for the little guy, right? For the software and technology has kind of been dominated by big businesses that have a lot of money and use it to make more money, right? And that's fine if that's all there is, but there's kind of a new way now, and I don't know, it's fun to see.
Yep, David versus Goliath. I like it.
Yeah.
Go to codebuddy.com if you want to hear more about Hunter's company. Hunter, thank you for being a guest with us tonight. Look forward to future episodes. We're going to bring actual individuals that have used AI coding, companies, actual non-technical companies that have used it to benefit their business and share their stories, share their secrets, their tips, tricks, hacks, and everything. So thank you for joining Dev Different, and we'll see you next time.